I think our coinage is artistically of atrocious hideousness. Would it be possible, without asking permission of Congress, to employ a man like Saint Gaudens to give us a coin that would have some beauty?
Teddy Roosevelt's presidency was a dramatic change for American coinage. In 1905, Roosevelt commissioned Augustus Saint Gaudens to work on the artistic side of American coinage. He also gave orders to the director of the mint, George E. Roberts, to let no one interfere with the artistry Saint Gaudens used in the coins. Saint Gaudens was paid a flat fee by the US government of $5,000 to redesign all the US coins, from the 1-cent piece to the double eagle $20 piece. Well, chief engraver Charles E. Barrow and George T. Morgan, we know who both of those guys are because you got the Morgan dollar and also the Barber quarters and halves and everything else there. Well, these guys were both pretty upset because traditionally the chief engraver would have designed the new coins. To add insult to injury, Barber and Morgan were working on an official inaugural medal for Roosevelt at the time. St. Gaudens actually got a glimpse of the medal and called it deadly to Roosevelt in a letter he wrote him. In 1907, the Indian head $10 gold eagle went through extensive modifications before they finally met the design that was on par with what the US Mint could actually make. And according to Mint Director Frank Lynch, thousands of designs were struck and created, but only a few of those were actually spirited out of the mint that we have as pattern coins today. Most of those were actually melted down. St. Gaudens was an artist and not a coiner, so his design of the Indian head $10 gold coin challenged the standards at the US Mint. The first design had that of a wire rim. This was in place to give the actual devices on the obverse of a coin more high relief than a normal coin. Well, the wire rim created an interesting problem. It was a stacking problem, and if your coins won't stack, the banks won't like them, businessmen won't like them, no one will like your coins. Well, this was corrected by Charles Barber by replacing it with a rounded rim. Also in 1907, the rounded rim with periods before and after E pluribus unum were created, but only 50 of those were created at that time, so that's a very rare coin to have. Now let's talk about the obverse and the reverse of the coin, or the heads or the tails of the coin itself. On the obverse, St. Gaudens' design of Liberty was taken from his study of Victory or Nike, and he modified it a little bit. He added a Native American feathered ceremonial headdress to the portrait of Liberty. Now this is something Roosevelt really wanted done to the $10 gold eagle. A lot of people think that it might be a Native American on the actual Indian head $10 piece, but it's not true. It's Liberty with a Native American feathered ceremonial headdress. Now in the headdress too, right at the top, you're going to see the word Liberty. And at the very top of the coin are 13 stars representing the 13 original colonies of the United States. And of course at the very bottom is the date of the coin itself. The reverse of the coin has a majestically perched eagle on a bundle of arrows with an olive branch intertwined in between the arrows. At the top of the coin is the United States of America with the written denomination of $10 located in the lower portion of the coin. The mint mark for the coin is located underneath the olive branch on the left side. Now remember, if this is a Philadelphia mint, there's not going to be a mint mark, but with the other mints, there is a mint mark. Also, the two mottos, E pluribus unum and In God We Trust, are located on the top right side and the lower left side of the coin. Now, In God We Trust was something that was added to this coin in 1908 and later, and there was a big rip-roaring event and a congressional move to put In God We Trust back on the coins, because Roosevelt didn't want to do it because he thought it was being sacrilegious to put In God We Trust on our currency. But that's not all. There's something else really unique about the St. Gaudens $10 Indian head gold piece. If you look at the edge, you will see 46 raised stars. Now these stars were created for each current state at the time of when these were made. So 46 was the amount of states that we had at that time. But I find this kind of fascinating because these were created in 1907 and it was revolutionary because it had never been done before. Then in 2007 we had an edge lettering coin, the US presidential dollars, be released into circulation too. A month before the release of the Indian head gold eagle, Augustus Saint Gaudens died from cancer. Charles Barber modified the design a little bit more to allow it for easier striking for the circulation coins, but he took away some of the artistic design that Saint Gaudens incorporated into it. But nevertheless, on September 1st, 1907, the eagles were released into circulation. The specs of the $10 gold Indian head coin are as such. It's 90% gold, 10% copper. The edge has raised stars on it, which are very unique in American coinage because you didn't see it again until 2007. The weight of the coin is 16.72 grams. The mints that made the Indian head gold eagle were the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Proof mats along with proof satin mats and circulated strikes were made by the mints. Now they were issued from 1907 to 1933 and they were continuously made from 1907 to 1916, and then they were kind of sporadic. They made them in 1920 in San Francisco, they made them in 1926, 1930 in San Francisco, and 1932 in Philly, and of course in Philadelphia the 1933. Now before these were all melted down by another Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, about 50 of them were released. Now that is if you can actually find one of the 50 to buy, because they've been hoarded and every once in a while you'll see one come up on an auction block, but the prices are extremely high. Now, when these coins were released to the public actually loved them. They adored them, which is very strange because most of the time when you look back at coinage history, when a coin's released to the public normally despises and hates it. Well, that was totally the opposite with the Indian head $10 gold piece designed by Saint Gaudens. Now let's talk about what to collect, and let's start off with the very, very rare types. Okay, of course, you have the 1907 wire rim and round rim. There were about 500 wire rim produced and then around 50 round rim produced. So you can do the math as to how much that would cost you to collect those, or if you're purchasing them for an investment. And if you are doing one of those, definitely go with something that's certified and buy from a very credible dealer like, for instance, one of my favorites, APMEX. There's also the 1907 no periods. Those are the periods before and after the Pluribus Unum. Other ones you can take a look at too for investment or collecting potential is the 1908 no motto Philadelphia and Denver Mint. And of course there's the 1920S. There were about 126,000 of these made, but most of them were melted down. It was the same way with the 1930 San Francisco. There were about 96,000. Those were melted down too. And of course, which we already talked about here a little bit earlier, was the 1933. There was about 312,000 of those minted by the US Mint, and only around 50 made their way out to circulation before April 5th, 1933, when the other Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, decided that all bullion was to be turned in and it was melted down, put in Fort Knox and the Federal Reserve. So we can thank him for making rare types, but he was also kind of destructive to the numismatic community. If you were just starting out collecting Indian head gold eagles, and you don't want to go with the semi-key dates or the ultra rare coins, which are almost untouchable by most people collecting, you might want to just go with the common dates. Now, our sponsor APMEX has sent over some great coins for us to show on the show here, so definitely go check them out at their website. And I myself like to go with slabs for most of my coins. And we have here a 1910 Philadelphia, Mint State 62 from PCGS, and we also have another common date, 1932 Philadelphia Mint in a Mint State 64, and we also have that in a Mint State 63, but this Mint State 63 has a really nice toning to it. You might not be able to see it in the camera, but just looking at it through the slab, it's some really nice rosy toning to it. It's a very beautiful coin. There's also a 1926 Philadelphia Mint 62 from PCGS also. Now, if you're collecting as an investor, Go with the common dates, but go with something at a mint state 63 or higher. And make sure, just make sure you trust your dealer on this and you don't get overcharged. That's one thing I really like about APMEX. They're a great company to buy from. I sometimes like to buy just raw coins, and I buy them from my very trusted dealers that I work with. And for the $10 Gold Eagle Indian head, you might want to go with raws because you can see the edges and you can see the stars and the beauty that they meant to portray when Saint Gaudens created this coin. Now I have here some AU coins. These are almost uncirculated from APMEX. I have a 1912 Philadelphia, a 1926 Philadelphia, and a 1914 Denver. Now, in extra fine, I've got a 1910 Denver and a 1908 Philadelphia. But these are some gorgeous, beautiful coins that Saint Gaudens made. We've discussed the Indian head $10 American gold coin designed by Saint Gaudens. We've talked about the history of the coin, what to collect, what to invest in, all the little things that you probably didn't know about the coin, but now you do. And when you sit down and you talk to someone that's a collector, you can bring up, well, did you know this about the Indian head Gold Eagle? Learning about the history of the coin is what brings it to life as a collector. And whether you're a collector or an investor, the Indian head gold coin is a wonderful coin that is rich in historical value. Guys, I'd like to thank APMEX, American Precious Metals Exchange, for sending these coins over courtesy to be shown on the show. If it weren't for them doing this, I wouldn't be able to show you some of the wonderful coins that I do here on Spare Change. And I'd also like to thank our new sponsor, Numis-Network, Numis-Network.com. They sell a lot of modern type coins, and you can go over and check those guys out. Well, until the next time here on Spare Change, keep checking your pockets, whether it's pennies, quarters, nickels, dimes, because you never know what you might find in your spare change.